are back for one more episode. We're going to tell you some more about Canada and give you information that is helpful to you if you're planning to move. And even if you're in Canada, some of the information might be useful to you.
But before we go any further, guys, so let me just say this. We restarted our YouTube and we were at 200 and something subscribers. We're now almost at 500. You guys did that. And I am most grateful. We are most grateful. Thank you guys for subscribing. We are reading the comments. We are loving the comments and the suggestions. We've been requested to do specific videos, which we're going to be doing in the future, but just wanted to pause to say thank you guys so much. Please, when you watch the video, you get the information and it's useful to you, just share it on your socials because it's also beneficial to other persons so we can get more subscribers. So we're in our community.
At the border of US and Canada.
So I'm just going to flip the camera.
So
I don't know if you
see
can
behind
see.
us. Yeah,
So where you're looking right now is the United States.
Washington State.
Washington State to be specific. You're not seeing much because it is very smoky. We have smoke going on in Washington, California. Wildfires in California, right? As well as wildfire here, hence the smokiness around.
Behind us is Canada. In front of us is the US. We just love it. It's just a nice vibe. And this park, we drove over once.
Last
week, Labor Day, and it was a pretty decent drive. Nothing changes. The landscape doesn't change. Nothing changes. Just the border.
The prices change.
Right.
The prices better over there, so.
It depends on what you're getting.
Vancouver, BC, expensive.
But we're going to talk about Canada.
Yeah. So what we're looking at today. Today we're going to be looking at what you can expect when you come to Canada. And a subscriber of ours requested this video, and like we say, when you guys request, we don't want to just put out video, we want to put out videos that you guys need, that you're requesting, you need information for. So this was a requested video, so we're just going to go through some bullets and expound on each about various things that you should expect or not expect. Stay tuned.
All right. So the first thing on the list is something that immigrants are still missing, believe it or not. And because these days all the airports are open and there is massive crowding in the airports, some immigrants go through without checking. This is one thing you should check. Number one, first thing.
First thing.
When you land in Canada, do not leave the airport without your work or study permit, whichever is relevant to you. Now, usually there are border services officers at the airport to direct you where to go. They'll ask you what some questions, and you will tell them, and based on what you tell them, they'll tell you which line to join or where to go. Sometimes immigrants slip through and they leave the airport without that documentation, study or work permit. Please do not leave the airport without your study or work permit.
And let me add this, even though you are leaving from your home country and you have in your passport a printed visa that says work permit or work visa, not permit, work visa or study visa, if you do not obtain the permit from immigration in the airport, you cannot obtain employment, you cannot go to school with just that printed piece in your passport.
Right.
So it's necessary for you, even if you realize that, oh, they're sending me through, and as Babe said, and they haven't sent it to a particular location, to pick up that piece of paper, ask questions.
Please ask.
Yes.
Please ask. The visa, the stamp in your passport is just for you to pass the checkpoint to come into Canada.
Right.
After you come into Canada, the visa has no use to you.
None.
Right? The permit, that document, that printed piece of paper is what you need to get your job or go to school or do anything else in Canada. Okay? Driver's license, provincial ID, health card, they're going to ask for that piece of documentation. Okay? Remember, don't leave the airport without it. That's number one. Number two, once you get into Canada, there is one other piece of documentation you're going to need to get, It is called your social insurance number. That number is like your tax number in your country, or that number that you have to use to do business, do transactions. It's needed for everything, and it helps identify your status. Okay? So temporary residents and students will have a particular number, SIN number, and then PRs have one and citizens have one. So it helps to identify your status and to help you do other businesses. So if you're applying for a job, sometimes they'll ask what your SIN number, not sometimes, your employer will request your SIN number.
Oh, you need it for everything.
You need it for everything.
You need it for everything.
So once you get in and you sleep a little bit and you're ready to go, just go to Service Canada.
As a matter of fact, that should be the day after you arrive.
Yeah. Depending on if you arrive in the morning, get it that same day.
Yes.
If you arrive in the evening, of course, get it the first and the next
thing
day.
you get the first day.
Okay? Your SIN number.
Yeah.
Right? That's the next thing. And if you don't have friends to tell you these things, we're sharing with you. We're telling you, right? That's what you do.
And in addition to that second day, I'm not seeing it on our list, but in addition to that second day, get also a bank
Account?
account.
Yes, of course.
Yes, open a bank account as quickly as possible, because once you get employment, then they're going to be asking you for a blank check,
Yeah.
to send.
And you will need your social insurance number to open a bank account.
Right.
As well as your status document, that PR or that permit, right, to open a
Right.
bank account. And that's important because depending on the permit that you have, you will have nice discounts or arrangements with the bank. Like students will get special discounts, special rates on the credit cards, etc. So these things are important, okay? So your permit at the airport, then your SIN number, then your bank account, and you are ready to go.
Yeah.
Those three things are first what you do when you get here. Okay?
And with the bank account, baby mentioned it a while ago.
Yeah.
The credit card.
All right, let's we have credit on the list, but let's
Okay.
put it up at the top here since we're
Right.
talking about banking.
So with the bank account, as a student, you get, babe said it a while ago, a special rate. But what's important to note is once you arrive in Canada, every single thing is attached to a credit score. Credit score is very important.
Very, very important.
Very, very important. You will have money in the bank account and you have a bad credit score, and you find that you can't obtain things that you need to obtain as easily because everything is attached to that, right?
Especially if you require financing
Right.
for appliances or a bed or a car, though anything that requires financing, they're going to check a credit score. But when you get here, you have a wonderful credit score, healthy. It will be nice.
Well,
For starters.
for starters.
Right.
So, but you're building it. It's not
So-
like you drop in the country and you automatically get
Yeah.
a 900 credit score, 700. No.
You will start.
You
from a
have
good
to
place.
build it. But with the credit card, you will get it at a special student rate. The onus is on you to learn how to use that credit card.
Indeed.
Right?
Wow.
So you want
Yeah.
to use it at not more than 30% of the overall amount. So if you're given $500, I'm not gonna tell you what 30% is because I don't know maths, I'm not embarrassed myself. So you're gonna use 30% of that. Use it in a way that you are able to pay it back. So for example, you have to buy groceries, right? Go to the supermarket, use that credit card to purchase the groceries, and the money, the cash that you have that you would have been using, you put it back on the credit card. That
Indeed.
way you are building your credit,
Yeah.
right? And research other ways how you can build your credit and maintain a healthy credit score,
The-
because the long and short of it, you're going to be staying here, you're going to want to obtain house, you're going to want to buy car and all these other things. They are going to be checking your credit score.
The rule of thumb is do not spend more than you can pay back.
Right.
And it's best if you pay 100% of what you spent. Most of us, including myself, we don't do that. We use the credit card not knowing exactly, the ramifications of it, and we use it when we don't have money.
That's
a
what
trick.
a lot of people do. They
We
it
use
when they
credit card when we
have.
don't have cash to spend. That's the trick of it. The best way to do it is to use it when you can pay off the 100% or more than 50%. That way you keep your interest payments low, and you keep your the limits you have to pay back very low as well. I mean,
I'm still learning.
it's a learning process.
I'm still learning.
Very, very important learning
I
process.
mean,
So,
I'm coming from the place of I lived in the US for a while, and I remember my dad would tell me, "Don't get a credit card, don't get a credit card," and he would tell me other ways to build my credit when I was living in the States. And I just never got a credit. I used cash for everything. But then when I came here, babe, you know, his credit score was wonderful. I was in school. But the point I'm trying to make, I was still in the place of I don't want to use a credit card because so on, so on, so, and babe is still teaching me, babe, this is what you need to do in order to build your credit score. So I'm still in that place of learning.
so once you start paying your own bills, your phone bill especially, or your internet bill, whatever bill you start paying, attach it to your credit card.
Yeah.
Okay, that way your credit score is built automatically. Once you start paying bills from your card,
That's how
especially
you built yours.
those automatic payments, set it up with a credit card. That way, when the bill is due, it automatically comes from your credit card. It's recorded, and then you just use the cash
To
transfer and pay it back. Okay, there is more to a credit card, but that is some
General,
information that can
right.
help you out when you get one. Okay, all right. We jumped from that, we're going to jump into culture shock, right? Canada is a melting pot. Everyone from every country is here, similar to what you find in the United States, right? That's what Canada is, even more so these days because they
Let me
have
ask you this.
opened up.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah,
This is your second country to live in.
yeah.
How different was your culture shock living in South Korea versus living here in Canada?
All right.
Did it prepare you, or was it like
Living in South Korea, it prepared me a little bit because it was a brand new country for me. No English, I didn't know anything about Korea or language or anything. So that was shocking for me. Canada is a bit different because they speak English in Canada, one, so you can immediately communicate. Two, you find people similar to you in Canada. Okay, black people, maybe they're from Africa and I'm from Jamaica and other persons from the Caribbean, but they're similar. They look like you. In South Korea, there was no one who looked like me. It was just Koreans, and Koreans are just one group of people, very, very little diversity or no diversity at all. So it's different. Canada is very diverse, so diverse, and they're going to land and you're going to start hearing all kinds of languages and dialects coming at you, from French to the Middle Eastern languages, Arabic and Farsi, and you know, you're going to hear the African languages too, and Spanish, and a lot of French, a lot of Russian. It's just going to be coming at you, and a lot of Asian, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, you know, everybody, and then Indians, Indian immigrants, a lot of Indian immigrants. So when you come and you land, you're going to see all that coming at you at one time. Be prepared for it.
when we initially got here? For me, it wasn't much of a culture shock. However, when we came here, we went to Kelowna, a small town called Kelowna here in BC. And it was different in that it was majority white people. So you didn't see a lot of people that looked like us. There were a few, but not a lot. So it was primarily white people and Indians. But be open to anything, to receiving anything, good or bad. And I say that because a part of our experience is that we faced racism here. Never had any confrontation with any form of racism until I moved here. And it was a bit of a shocker because coming here, you would hear, oh, Canadians are so nice and so positive. Be cautious and be open to receiving both negative and positive. And you will have to learn how to pivot and what to take on and what not to take on. And I thought that was important to note, simply because I experienced it and my heart broke when I learned of my sister experiencing it, who lives in Ontario. You know, she got to the point where she just felt like she wanted to go back home. Persons wouldn't sit near her on the bus simply because she's black. My girlfriend here in Vancouver, she shared similar experience with me. So that's a culture shock, babe,
It is culture shock, yeah.
that you can
So
expect.
a couple of two words: open-mindedness and adaptability. Those two
Yeah.
things, right? And yes, racism is in Canada, not as rampant as the United States,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
However,
depends on
it
where you are too.
is here. It
Yeah.
is here. The United States are different kettle of fish. It may happen to you depending on where you
May
are,
right, and it may
right?
not.
And black people are minority in Canada as well. Okay, we are minority. So you're going to find yourself in a bunch of white people or a bunch of Indians or a bunch of another culture, depending on where you go.
Asians.
Okay, so be prepared for that culture shock, all that coming at you. And when you start looking for work, you might find you're the only black person in the office if you're black, or if you're white, then of course you will you
You too.
if you're white, I mean you will just drop in and integrate quicker than a person who is a minority. And if you're an Indian immigrant, then when you come, depending on where you go, you'll drop into an Indian community.
Yeah.
If you're
The
Chinese,
Indian community here is huge.
I mean,
It's
for
huge.
example, in Surrey, BC, big, big Indian community, right? In Richmond, BC,
Huge
big,
Asian
big
community.
Asian, mainly
Yeah.
Chinese,
Here
right?
where we live
So
is mainly white people.
yeah, so depending on you hardly will find a majority black community, okay? But it depending on
Where
your
you are.
background and where you go, the rules are the same. Be adaptable, because my friends from Egypt, right? They have faced culture shock. They have faced racism. They are white in appearance. But my coworker related to me that when she was on the train, she was speaking in Farsi, right? And people were looking at her strange, right? People didn't want to sit beside her in the train because she was speaking in a Middle
Foreign
Eastern language.
right.
So Middle Eastern people have a stigma, Indians have a stigma, Chinese have a stigma. Wherever you're from and you're coming into Canada, there is a stigma, and you're going to have to deal with that, even among your own people. Okay, so be open-minded, be adaptable. Sometimes you'll have to move from one city to another, from one province to another, to find your place.
Yes.
Okay, gonna leave that right there. Regulations. Canada is highly regulated, and immigration has become even more regulated these days because there are some practitioners in immigration who
Ooh.
have taken on illegal activities, and a lot of scamming is happening now to get people here under false pretense, forged documents and so on. So they have really started tightening immigration regulations here. Everything is regulated. Starting a business, you can't hustle in Canada like some other countries, for example, Jamaica, where we're from.
You can
Right?
hustle in the US too.
You have to register a business because you don't want any litigations. You don't want any problems when you start selling goods and services. Okay? And banking as well will require proper registration. To have a storefront and all these other things, you will need to be registered. Okay? Driving is another thing. There's a time limit on your foreign driver's license. Okay? Renting. There are laws for everything. Using the park, depending on which park, there are laws how to use the park. Okay, so I mean, for example, the Canada side of this park is closed, and there's a law governing the closure of the park. Okay, picking up dog droppings, there's a law, regulation for that, and there's a fine of $115 for this park that we're sitting in if you don't pick up your dog droppings. So nothing is taken for granted here. Everything. So you'll find that there are open spaces where you could do business, but it's not allowed. We could go through the whole book on regulations. Maybe you're from a country where it's not so tight. Even traffic here is regulated. Don't fool yourself and do crazy things in traffic. Even though crazy things happen on Canadian streets, they get fined, they get arrested, they get charged. And we have experience and can tell you, don't mess around when you're driving here, right? Keep within the speed limit, drive carefully, watch out for pedestrians, Okay, all these things. It's different here. Everything is regulated.
It's expensive.
So
I had to pay twice.
if you get into trouble,
Expensive.
it will cost you. So it's best to pay attention
Babe,
to the regulations.
Give them an example of speeding.
Let's say the speed limit is 100. Don't go more than 110. Once you see yourself passing 110, you're in danger zone with the law.
What's an estimated amount one can expect to pay?
If you get a speeding ticket, $200 is estimated for a speeding ticket.
Plus,
Now,
and it can be
if you are in excess of 20 over the speed limit, there is another ticket for that, and then you will lose points from your license if you are above 20 in excess of the speed limit. Okay, and then if your car gets impounded,
with the train passing.
there's a huge train passing by. We will show you. That train is coming from the United States into Canada. All right, so